My name's Justin Debolt. I'm the Director of Community Partnerships and District Safety for School District 155. Before ClearArmor, what we were looking at in terms of safety was a lot of different items across our district. So we're a 4 high school district, with our oldest building being 100 years old. And so the needs at each of those buildings is a little bit different. And so what we tried to do was kind of complete a physical site assessment at each of our buildings and identify some commonalities across all 4 campuses that we wanted to focus on in terms of school safety. So as we looked at that, it was things that a lot of districts get excited about. You know, we enhanced our camera system. We looked at our door lock systems and made sure that our doors were able to be locked from inside the classrooms. We looked at our door access control systems. And so we were looking at a lot of different pieces of school safety kind of in a comprehensive way. But one of the areas that stood out to us was that our glass was a vulnerable point. And so we'd adopted the I Love You Guys procedures from the I Love You Guys Foundation. And as part of that, it's really important to just have a time barrier in place to give our students, to give our staff, to give first responders an opportunity to react should a situation occur with an active assailant. And so part of creating that time barrier was looking at our glass and saying, gosh, there's some real vulnerable spaces here. We have collaboration spaces with large glass areas. Like most schools, we have interior vestibules with large glass spaces. We have libraries and cafeterias with a lot of glass inside of our buildings. And so as we looked at that, we knew we needed to come up with a solution to kind of harden our physical facilities by addressing those vulnerable bases across all of our schools. So the glass was critical in us addressing. We knew that that was an area that we needed to add a time delay so that active assailants would have a more challenging time getting into those spaces, and buy our first responder partners additional time to respond, time for our students to get behind locked spaces, our staff to get behind locked spaces or exit the building if it's safe to do so. What stood out about ClearArmor specifically, the product, the people, was what was really first, it was a local company. It was here in Illinois, based out of Grays Lake, and we had this welcoming invitation to come out and see the product firsthand, to not just listen to a sales pitch, but actually see a demonstration of how does this product work and what makes this product different than some of the competitors. And so with that, ClearArmor was able to walk us through the technology behind it, the woven system, and adding additional strength and rigidity to the product over some of the competitor products. The fact that it's invisible, and so our students and staff don't even know that it has been applied. The team at ClearArmor was so professional through the installation process, and so as we walked through that and got a deeper dive into what made this product special, what made this product unique, it helped us sort through a lot of the noise that was out there in the school safety space. There's a lot of experts and products, and you're trying to figure out which one's the right fit. And ClearArmor really made that easy by coming out to our schools and doing a walkthrough at each of our buildings. So ClearArmor took the time to say, listen, let's come out and take a look at what these buildings look like, and walk through and did the complete exterior and then the complete interior to identify what spaces they recommended being covered and at what layer of protection. And so you got a sense that they were really invested in this and wanted to make sure that if their loved one was in that building, that this product was providing the protection that they would want to see in a school that their loved one went to. Having a direct point of contact for the district when you have a project this large is critical. You know, it's just easy to make sure that we're able to go to one person and find out what stage of the process we're in, a question about the product, and even if you didn't have the answer on the spot, I didn't have to worry from there, because you'd go find the answer and come back and let me know what those next steps were. And so I can't stress communication enough when you're managing a project of this size. All sorts of things can come up. We're working in 100-year-old buildings here and looking at different things as the project unfolds, and that's any project. So I think that it's just really critical to have that layer of communication, to have a single point of contact, to have that customer support when you need it. And it didn't stop there. So once the product was installed, we continued to engage. ClearArmor, as part of this package, provides training. And that's really unusual compared to the competitors in the market. And so ClearArmor came out, and we had about 40 of our staff members sit in a full day training that covered not only stop the bleed, but mindset And that was so critical for our teams. It was a big group from nurses to deans to district administrators, building administrators, and of course our campus safety supervisors, the people that are on the front lines keeping our students and staff safe every single day. Were provided additional training to not only understand the product that had been installed and instill some confidence in them that this product was now there to keep them safe, but also on the mindset of how to identify things in their buildings that don't look right, how to respond should an active assailant situation occur in their building, and what type of safety measures and life-saving efforts could they provide to students and staff and colleagues if the worst were to occur. And so having that level of support on the back end of a project that was largely complete at that point was really unique compared to competitors, and just showed how much ClearArmor really cared and valued in making sure that we were partners in keeping the school safe. So having ClearArmor handle that training was really unique, not only in just that they provide this training, but the level of expertise that the instructors brought. These are individuals that have lived these situations in the real world and were able to connect their life-saving efforts through their first responder actions, whether that be military or elsewhere, and apply that to a universal setting where our staff could understand how these things could apply in their personal life, and then kind of make that transition into thinking about how we can keep this safe in our schools. And so the instructors for the True Trauma training did a great job of connecting the real world, the school world of how this stuff applies, and really kind of bring it to life through hands-on training that day. So the feedback from them was phenomenal. It was a great way to wrap up our school year and have our staff feel valued and get that extra layer of training. Having a product like ClearArmor that has a lifetime warranty on it was awesome. It gave us peace of mind that no matter how long, any of our individuals are with the district, that as long as those windows are in place, that film is in place, that we know that layer of protection exists. And so having a company that stands behind their product like that, that's able to come out and say, yes, we need to correct that, really just gave peace of mind on a scope of a project this size. It's always a challenge to figure out how you can put something like this into the budget and finance it and be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And so we were fortunate we were able to use grant funding to support this project, and ClearArmor understood that process. And we felt like we had partnered with a company that down the road was going to be there to support the district for the long term in terms of safety. What was great about ClearArmor is that they are not just a sales rep selling us a product, they are a sales consultant looking at the building sort of holistically in terms of not just the window safety film, but how is our safety procedures as a whole measured up. And so just having a partner that's going above and beyond to provide training on the back end, to provide that consulting, and there was no sales push. It was, here's our product, we think it's fantastic, how does it work, and we're ready when you're ready to take the next steps and invest in this. But there was no push to rush this process. It was moved along at the pace that involved communication with our district leadership, communication with our school board, working through our grant process to make sure that we were in alignment with all of the terms of the grant, and making sure that, kind of the timeline that flowed naturally for the district. ClearArmor was patient in working with us as a sales consultant on that rather than just trying to sell a product. One of the requirements of purchasing through a school district, especially with the particular grant that we used, was working through a purchasing cooperative. And so with ClearArmor being a part of the TIPS purchasing group, that certainly made that an easier process, and not only partnering with a company that offered a proprietary product in the safety space, but was already vetted through that group and approved for the school districts to work through from the grant purposes. Some of the feedback from staff has been really exciting, because as they've went through and seen the install unfold, they've pointed out spaces and said, oh, are they going to do this space too? Are they going to do that space? And just the level of excitement when they know that their space is now protected. I'm referring to a lot of library spaces and collaboration spaces, office spaces that have a lot of glass on there. And we want to keep that line of visibility so that students and staff supervision can still exist. So once it's installed, they don't even really know it's on there. You have to really look for it and know what to look for. So our staff have just really expressed a lot of excitement that we've taken that step to invest in their safety in the district. We measure in schools our student, staff, and community feedback about how they feel safe in the buildings through the 5 Essential survey data. And we've seen those scores continue to rise each year since we've really made a focus in the district on these different layers of security measures to protect students and staff. And I'm really excited to see how that translates into our surveys going forward, because knowing that the ClearArmor product is on there, I think is just, again, another layer where we're going to see students and staff's confidence grow in knowing that we're doing what we can to keep our buildings as safe as possible. I believe that our district is definitely better prepared for the future having the ClearArmor product installed. And so it just adds that additional layer of security, it adds confidence for our students and staff, and really most importantly, it creates a time barrier so that those procedures that we've put into place to keep our students and staff safe, the procedures that our first responder partners train for, have time to unfold. And so buying those critical minutes, those critical 3 to 5 minutes should an active assailant situation occur, it's just exciting that we've created that time barrier to help do everything possible to allow our staff, students, first responders to follow those procedures, to react appropriately, and do everything we can to keep our school community safe. So one thing I would recommend to another school district when they look kind of holistically at all the different security solutions are out there, and it's overwhelming, where do I start, how do I start keeping our schools safe, is to start with a physical site assessment. And so going through a standards-based site assessment that identifies those different vulnerabilities in your schools, and then coming up with those commonalities in terms of how are you going to prioritize those items. And then, you can't do it all at once. You can't do it all in a single year, and the work is never done. And so I think just working through a checklist of identifying the top, 2 or 3 things that you want to focus on first. And it's not a one-person decision. So I recommend other school districts, working collaboratively with your district leadership, your building leadership, the people that are in the buildings every single day, and see where those vulnerabilities exist, but also your first responder partners. Regularly meeting with them, bringing them in and getting their perspective. So a variety of perspectives, whether it's sales consultants in the security space, your school staff, your district and building leadership, and then your first responder partners, to really look at that collectively together, analyze those physical site assessments, and then prioritize what you're going to address and start working through that list. When I talk to other school districts and they ask a lot of school districts talk about what's working and what's not. You're trying to sort through the noise of what security products are out there and trying to figure out what's the right solution for your district and which one's going to make the biggest impact in keeping students and staff safe. And so I think finding a partner that just has that consistent communication, that is not pushing for a sale, but is pushing for that consultation of what's going to work best for that school. A partner with ClearArmor, I share with those districts just that the willingness to show the product, like firsthand, to come out and see it, to see how it's manufactured, to see how it's installed, and really to do the one-on-one walks and just take a look at your building with them, spend that time to do a walkthrough. I think as you go through that process with a company like ClearArmor, you really get a sense of building a partnership rather than just a sales school district relationship. It really becomes more of a partnership in keeping the kids and staff in that school community safe.